So let's review the week 3 quiz. It was just a brief quiz, really pretty much just reinforcing some of the basic ideas, techniques, not really techniques, but approach to what we're doing when we have the final goal of determining the soundness of an argument, which of course has two major steps. The first is to actually determine what the argument is. And the second is to determine whether it's sound. And the soundness, of course, of an argument is a matter of the truth or likely truth of the premises and the validity of the reasoning. And that means whether or not the premises, whether they're true or not, actually do lead to, support, imply the conclusion. Number one here, a very short argument. Barack Obama was born in the state of Hawaii in 1962. It's obviously, as we say, a premise. Anyone born within, should be one word, the United States is eligible to be president of the United States. Premise two. Therefore, good old conclusion indicator, Obama is eligible to be president of the United States. This is a sound argument. Let's just start with the easy part. The reasoning is valid. Obama was born in Hawaii, which is in the United States. Anyone born in the United States is eligible to be president. Therefore, Obama is eligible to be president. It follows with deductive validity. So the only question is the truth of the premises. And here's where things might get students might have reasonable objections. How do you determine the truth of premises, especially ones that are basic premises like these, which are just offered without support? Well, one thing you do is you read the newspaper and have common sense. Ultimately, the epistemological question of how we can really know anything and how we can resolve disputes perhaps is something that is, it is an ultimate philosophical question. But if you have any doubts that Barack Obama was born in the state of Hawaii in 1962, or you've fallen prey to propaganda and conspiracy theory. I mean, ultimately, Descartes established that we can't really know any fact of the matter with the kind of absolute certainty that perhaps we can know other things. But a fact of the matter like this, you just have to go with the best proof and be consistent. If you're going to doubt that Obama was born in the United States, then you might as well doubt that Donald Trump or Mickey Mantle was born in the United States. It's no more reason except racism to think that he wasn't. So obviously, the second we're going to find fault just because we know the facts of the matter with the second argument. Barack Obama was born either in Kenya or Indonesia, but you must be born within the United States in order to be eligible to become president of the United States. Therefore, Obama is ineligible to be president of the United States. The argument is unsound. And again, the first thing we might look at here is the reasoning, which is valid. That is, given the truth of the premises, the conclusion is true. Or to put it another way, the conclusion actually does follow from the premises. If he was born in Kenya or Indonesia, and you must be born with the United States to be eligible to be president, then he's not eligible. So that reasoning is completely, it's good reasoning. It's valid reasoning in the sense that the conclusion does actually follow from the premises. However, the premises, at least one of them, the first premise is false, that he was born either in Kenya or Indonesia. Again, we have to draw the line somewhere in terms of our acceptance or rejection of factual claims. That claim has no and never has had any evidence. It's just an irresponsible and ridiculous claim that some people, including our current president, Donald Trump, seem to have believed, but because they're irrational or they're trying to fool people. Argument 3, all people with red hair are untrustworthy, and Jim has red hair, so he must be untrustworthy. First of all, it's a good argument in terms of its reasoning. We have two premises. One, the sort of major premise that all people with red hair are untrustworthy. The second one, that Jim has red hair. So it follows with deductive validity from those premises that Jim or he must be untrustworthy. So the reasoning, again, is valid. But the the first premise at least, we know to be false, ridiculous. All people with red hair are untrustworthy, which ruins the soundness of the argument. So again, we have another argument with at least one false premise. Even though it has valid reasoning, it's unsound because of the falseness, the obvious falseness of that first premise. Number 4, no statement can be both true and false at the same time. It must be one or the other and not both. That's our first premise. The earth is flat is a false statement, so it cannot be true. Well, this is one might say, absolutely sort of, it's a sound argument, and that is, first of all, its reasoning is valid. That is, it really only has two premises here. The first one is stated really twice, that no statement can be both true and false at the same time. It must be one or the other or both. It's sort of saying the same thing twice. The earth is flat is a false statement, is another premise. And the conclusion that it, referring to the earth is flat, the statement cannot be true, does follow. So it's obviously valid in its reasoning. And one would say that, at least some logicians would say that classical logic, that the principle of non-contradiction or excluded middle, that no statement can be both true and false at the same time, is kind of an obvious, necessary, self-evident truth. Look at number 5 here. Hemingway wrote The Old Man and the Sea, and Fitzgerald wrote The Great Gatsby. Both of these books are well regarded. Both Hemingway and Fitzgerald are men. As a result, women have not written any well-regarded books. So obviously our as a result is the conclusion of this little argument, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, depending on how you count them, premises. The argument is unsound. But here, although the premises are all true, Hemingway did write The Old Man and the Sea. Fitzgerald did write The Great Gatsby. Both of those books are well regarded, generally speaking. And Hemingway and Mr. Fitzgerald were both men. All of our premises are true. But the conclusion that women have not written any well-regarded books, as well as being false, it simply doesn't follow from, and it's not its falseness that we're focusing on here. It's the fact that it simply doesn't follow from the premises. So the premises are all true, but they don't imply the conclusion. So the argument is invalid in its reasoning and therefore unsound. So even though all its premises are true, the argument is unsound because its reasoning is invalid. Number 6, here we get into some, for an argument to be sound, its premises must all be true, or at least likely be true, and that's true. Here I'm just trying to reinforce our grasp of what it means for an argument to be sound. First of all, for an argument to be sound, all its premises must be true. But, number 7, every argument with a true conclusion is sound. That is false. An argument can have a true conclusion but be unsound because the conclusion doesn't follow from the premises. That is, because the reasoning is invalid. Number 8, London is in the UK, New York is in the USA, Beijing is not in Indonesia, therefore Beijing is in China. And this is an interesting argument where all the premises are true and the conclusion is true, but the argument is unsound. And the argument is unsound because even though everything that it says happens to be true, there's no logical relationship between the conclusion and the premises. The premises do not imply or support the conclusion.